Agenda Bill 1910, the Lodging Tax Advisory Committee Ordinance.
This, once again, is a follow-up on a prior subject. You have previously read and spoken about the need for such a committee. The committee's composition is set forth in state statute, and there's a memorandum in your packet from City Attorney on the matter of the Lodging Tax Advisory Committee. And then there's conforming language for our city code. The recommended actions are to read the ordinance by title and to pass, post, and publish the ordinance in the usual manner. The subsequent step will be the appointment of the committee itself, but that is for a future meeting. Happy to answer any questions.
I would ask as we, for one hopefully minor change to the ordinance is put forth. State statute calls for a committee of no less than 5 individuals. I would respectfully ask that we amend our code to reflect 7 members.
And what would be your reasoning for that?
One, I want to make sure that we've got an odd number in case of ties, but
That's
2,
fine,
I want to make sure that we've got
permissive.
2,
Yeah.
the availability of 2
It's a minimum
elected
of 5.
officials on the committee itself. One from the legislative body and one from the administrative body as well.
Mr. Mayor, Mayor and I talked about this previously. It's permissive. It's a minimum of 5. It could go up higher than that. Do you want to specify, if it goes to 7, do you want to specify where the other 2 would come from? Do you want to have, or just leave that open? Because 2 have to be, 1 has to be an elected official from the city, 2 has to be from the business to be taxed, 2 has to be from the business to be receiving the funds. And so the other 2, did you want to specify a member at large or 2? Or just leave it open? We could leave it open, I think, and pretty much do what you wanted to with that.
And certainly leaving it open doesn't encumber any future mayors on
Not at all.
the makeup and who they may suggest for council's affirmation.
Right.
So, Mr. Mayor, would it be possible to provide a range then from a minimum of 5? Since the state statute, and forgive me for not looking it up already, but state statute requires a minimum of 5. Then we could reflect that by saying that there's a minimum of 5 members on the committee, and that would leave it open to us to providing for.
We had that discussion with the mayor before. I think it's incumbent upon us to set an amount. The reason being, if you don't, then how many is it? Is it 20? Is it 15? Is it 13? Whatever. I think it's incumbent upon us to set an amount. If it looks like there's a lot of participation, we can always go back and change it and say, instead of 7, say 9 or 11 or whatever. But if you don't, then this is kind of open-ended.
Okay, but we also run into the sticky problem of if we add 2 more members, I mean, because right now we have 1 city member, 2 hotel members, and 2 receiving members.
Right.
If we add 2 extra to that equation, I think we should be careful about which 2 we're allowing to add. So you're basically suggesting that we should have 2 from the city, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then we have to add 1 more one from either the hotel or the receiving end.
One could certainly be at large from the community.
Or at large from the community? Okay. That makes sense. So if that's the case, if we're going to change the makeup that way, then I suggest that as we amend this, we amend it to reflect that. That's all right.
That might be a wise thing. Otherwise, it leaves it a little bit open. So yeah, we can have. So you want to have it 7, 2 elected officials, the other 2 that we talked about, and then 1 public at large.
I would propose that we make it up to 7 members, and if I remember correctly, it's up to the mayor to make the appointments with the approval of council. And that leaves all the flexibility to the present mayor and doesn't tie the hands of a future mayor.
Well,
I'd prefer to have it as a set amount, for reasons previously stated, but
Up
I-
to 7 doesn't work.
Well, I think it could work, but it could be, I guess that'd be anywhere from 5 to 7, so I'd prefer to have an exact amount so that we know, and then
All right.
so to have certainty there, and then if you wanted to change it and have 9 or 5 or whatever, it's a pretty simple amendment to the code.
It's been my experience that, as a general rule, the number of, the amount of business that a committee gets done is inversely proportional to the number of people that sit on it. So I'm in favor of the lower committee, so the lower number.
I think what we staff would like is in concept direction, and then we will have the precisely correct matter returned to you. I'm just by style, I'm more comfortable to get the concept direction from you, then have the document reworked. That gives you another chance to say, oh yeah, you staff, you got it correctly, rather than do a lot of amending at a meeting. It sometimes can get confusing.
I think, yeah, what you're saying is a motion, instead of an ordinance, a motion directing the city attorney to bring back an ordinance that up to, or with 7 members or 5 members, whichever you're comfortable with, and then composed as stated by Michael, or however you want to do it.
Let me test this for consensus. Sounds like you would be okay with 7 members, the 5 indicated by state statute, plus an additional city representative, plus an at-large. And
I
I'm
would be good with
testing.
that. I would be good with that.
I'm fine with that.
I see one, I see several yeses and at least one no.
And Jennifer's in the middle, she's doing both, I think, so.
My suggestion is this probably isn't gonna call for an intense roll call.
Mr. Mayor.
motion on the floor?
There isn't one.
We don't have one yet.
So, Mr. Mayor, I've got a quick question about this before we start moving very quickly. What type of time, are we on a time crunch for this? I know it was suggested that we get this done quickly.
My very strong recommendation is that you put this in place, get the committee members in place, and do that before you spend 1 nickel of this money.
Oh, absolutely.
Absolutely.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion to read the ordinance, or actually have the city attorney bring back the ordinance relating to the 7 members of that committee.
I'll second that.
Got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Would you tell me what that motion is again, please?
Motion is to direct the city attorney to bring back an ordinance reflective of 7 members, 2 of which are elected officials, 2 from the business. So a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye. No.
Motion carries.
We have direction. Thank you, council.
You're welcome. Sorry for that curveball. Agenda Bill 20-10, surplus firearms for credit. Chief Mitchell?